Order at 5:36. All right, so the meeting has been called to order. Now is the opportunity for the public to discuss matters of public interest within this committee scope, including items on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
We do not have any speakers in our audience, and Art, do we have any virtual attendees at this point?
No, there's not.
Not yet. All right. Very good. Thank you. So then we'll move to the consent agenda. Any questions from the committee? All right, can we get a motion to move the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
All right, thank you. And a second. So do we need to take a roll call?
Yes.
All right, roll call, please.
I'll begin with Director Sailors
Aye.
and Director Costa.
Aye,
Motion passes.
thank you. So we'll move to our presentation items. The first is on the reinstatement policy. And Ms. Maddox, HR Manager. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, directors. Melissa Maddox, the HR Manager of Metro Fire. Tonight I have two policies. The first one is the reinstatement policy number 02.020.02. This one is technically a new policy. We did have an existing policy that was really outdated and old. It was almost found in our archives. But this new policy came about recently when we had two employees request reinstatement right around the same time. We realized the employees had different lengths of separation, which that led us to do some research with the policy and the MOU language, and we realized, okay, we need a clear policy to reflect the things that we're currently doing and also will fulfill the intent of the MOU. So we worked with 522 through the process, through the entire policy to make sure that the policy wasn't changing the intent of the MOU, and it also reflected current practice, as I said. We just wanted to ensure that the guidelines were clear, so we were treating all reinstatements consistently and according, again, to the MOU and policy. So the main policy guidelines include separation of no more than 5 years. A vacancy must exist, and it must be a position that the employee formerly held. All license certifications and conditions of employment must be met. They must have been separated from employment voluntarily and in good standing. And of course, any reinstatement would be subject to fire chief's approval. Some of the varying policy guidelines, which depend on the length of separation, and that's kind of the reason it prompted us to look into this a little more and clear up the existing policy, was some of the varying things that could depend on, your length of time you were gone, include the background checks. Some people may only require a medical exam. Some may, if you're gone for 3 or 4 years, you may need to go through the whole background process. A skills evaluation, or you may need to participate in the district's return to work program. That would be more for positions such as an engineer who may need a refresher on those particular skills. And that's all done through the training division. Probationary periods and then seniority dates could be different depending on for purposes of station bids, vacation bids, and reduction in force. Hopefully that never happens, but it's in the MOU. So as I said, HR and 522 worked together on this. We got all the proper sign-offs. 522 was on board. All the division managers signed off. So we feel like it's a pretty solid policy. And again, this is just an administrative policy, so it's for your review. It doesn't need to go to full board for final approval. So with that, I would answer any questions you have in this particular policy.
Any questions?
No questions.
I just have a quick question. So it's only if a position is available in that classification?
Yeah, if it's open. Yeah.
If it's open in that classification,
Yeah.
okay. And then when would this policy start to be implemented?
Technically, the process itself is already being implemented.
Okay.
The two employees that I was speaking about earlier, we got them through the process and it was good. But as soon as this is approved, it'll get posted in the, or as soon as it's done being reviewed by you, it'll be posted in the policies app and it'll officially be official.
Okay, Very good.
That's the right way to say that.
Yeah, thank you. So I don't think any
Any other
other questions from the committee on this one? All right.
Okay. I believe the next policy is what we call the policy and policies. But the proper term for it is the policy development and implementation policy. So basically, this is a guideline on how to develop policies. It's intended to be kind of a guide for division managers. HR has always been working on trying to have a 2-year review cycle of policies. But it may be shorter than that if the law changes and we know we need to change a policy because something in a law changed, or the MOU changed or something like that. But in general, we like to try to review them all every 2 years, but some policies that are within divisions such as CRRD or in fire investigation, we need assistance from the managers to make sure that those policies are accurate and relevant. Sometimes policies get archived, so we need a manager's assistance with that. And so this policy was developed just to have some clear guidelines on how it all works and the process of, from very start or development all the way down to formatting and posting in the apps manual and all the approvals that we need to get. So this was already an existing policy. It was really just some revisions that we needed to add just for clarity, because the admin specialists in each division are kind of in charge of the policy itself based on the division manager's input. But as far as making the actual edits or coordinating with Leslie and HR of the changes that need to be made. So this was just more clarity for them of where their access is, how they can look up the old policies, how they can get to the archives, and just more clarity on how, to do it. But Leslie's there to help everybody with this process from HR to walk them through it. If they have questions, she's there. So there was just some minor revisions in here. And I just did want to point out that there is one typo in here that we'll fix before it's posted. I know. It's on page 11. It's just the 2 needs to be at that. So we'll fix that before it gets posted. Is there any, again, this is administrative policy, so it's just for your review. It doesn't need to go to full board for approval. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on this particular policy.
Yes, please.
Is there a software program or something that will, that these could be loaded into and could manage them?
We put them in our policies app. So all employees have access to those. And there's a search bar where you can search a certain policy. But as far as the development piece, we kind of do that by hand.
So you have a software app, which is.
Yeah.
It is like a software program that they are in.
Yes, it stores them. It's kind of I always call it our electronic policies manual.
Okay,
Like there's a lot of places, back in the day, we'd have a huge book of policies in
Yes.
paper. This is our policies manual, but just in an electronic version.
okay.
Yeah.
And Matt knows all about this, or?
Matt actually developed it, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. And so just to clarify, this limits who can edit the policy. And then,
Yes.
Okay.
All the edits have to be run through HR, and not for the content of the edit, but just to make sure it's consistent and all the approvals for those
Approvals
edits
are
have came from the right people.
right,
So you don't have multiple people posting random policies and it gets chaotic. So it's all run through one stream.
Mhm.
And Leslie does a great job working with the managers to get the approvals and make sure the edits are consistent with the format, and we go from there.
and once approved, it's uploaded into the policy.
Yep. And we also send out a bulletin
Mhm.
to all personnel, just alerting them that there's either a new policy or an edit to a current policy, and then where they can find it in the policies app. So,
All right, very good. Any other questions? No, all right.
okay,
No more.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All All right, so that brings us to end of the agenda and our next meeting is to be determined. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.